Yo, book nerds! Today we are going to talk about Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. Now, you're probably like, Jordan, this was not on your TBR for spring. You're right. And I did not read it right now. I have read this. I read it a few years ago. Actually quite a few years ago now, probably like 6 years ago now. But the reason I want to talk about it now is because my students in one of my classes were reading this. So I didn't reread it, but I got kind of a refresher with it. So I wanted to talk about it with you guys and share why I think you should read it. I really think this book is worth the read, and I understand why many schools teach it. It's very short, so you don't need to really take much time out of your reading life to fit this one in, and it's just a real work of art in my opinion. So what is Of Mice and Men about? It's about two friends, George and Lenny, and it takes place about 100 years ago. It's the Dust Bowl. Life is hard, and they are working on ranches, moving around. They're migratory workers. Their life is hard. Migratory workers, farm workers were not treated fairly. They were not paid well. It was a really rough life. This book really is kind of a commentary on companionship, what it means to have a companion, and on loneliness. They kind of go hand in hand. And then it's also a commentary on the American dream, how people can work so hard, and so they should be able to get a house, they should be able to feed their family. Like, it should be that, like, that's the American dream, right? But is it really possible? This book kind of asks that question. Lenny and George have been working hard for a long time, and they really have nothing to show for it. They don't have a home, they barely have food, they don't have much money, and they have to just keep bouncing around from job to job. Now, George is kind of the leader of their little duo. He is the one that makes the decisions. He decides where they're going, what they're going to be doing. He takes care of Lenny. Why? Because Lenny is like a child. He has the mentality of a child, but he just is very simple, and he's very childlike. He likes to pet soft things. And that means that George is constantly trying to take away mice from him because he finds them and he wants to pet them. And he's very big and he doesn't know how strong he is, and he often kills the mice accidentally. So George just takes care of him and tells him what to do, and they go to work together. In the story, George and Lenny have just started working at a new farm, and I can't really tell you much more than that because this book, again, is extremely short and I don't want to spoil anything for you. When I first read this, had the book spoiled for me, so I don't want to do that for you. So if you don't want to know anything else, here is your spoiler alert. There's a few other things I want to say about this book, but it will spoil things. So beware. If you don't want to have the reading experience I had, where it was spoiled for you, then stop the video now. But I would say this, overall, this is a great story to read, and you should read it, and I loved it. Now, okay, spoiler alert. So, if you're still watching, it's on you. It's on you. So now, at this new farm, there are problems. Before they even get there, George is anticipating problems. Lenny gets himself into trouble a lot because he's just so simple. He doesn't mean to do things, but things happen. And they had to leave their last job because Lenny scared a woman, and he didn't mean to scare her. It just happened, and so they got kind of ran out of that town. And so now they're at this new farm, and there's going to be more problems. There's lots of foreshadowing. There's lots of parallels in this story. Let's talk about the parallels first, and then we'll talk about the foreshadowing. So, parallels. So on the farm, The son of the farm owner, his name is Curly, and he has a wife, and they only refer to her as Curly's wife. And she's kind of a flirt, but can you blame her? She's really bored. She never gets to talk to anybody, and the only people around are guys, so she talks to them, and then Curly gets mad. She wants companionship. She wants someone to talk to. And so she's looking for companionship because she's lonely. Parallel that to George. George is on the road. He normally would be by himself. Most of these migrant workers are on their own. And George and Lenny talk about that a lot. How most guys like them, they don't have anybody, but George and Lenny, they have each other, and that's awesome. And so George has found that companion in Lenny. Parallel that to Curly's wife. She's looking for somebody to talk to, a companion. Maybe she is flirting and being kind of promiscuous as well, but she's lonely. And eventually she does talk with Lenny, and they have a good conversation at first. And then they start talking about soft things, how Lenny likes to touch soft things, and she wants him to touch her hair. And so he's touching her hair, and then she does get scared and something bad happens. He, in the struggle, accidentally kills her. And he didn't mean to. So you see this parallel between George finding a life companion, a best friend, even though he kind of has to take care of him. Like, he's found this companion in Lenny. Meanwhile, on the contrary, you have Lenny not being a companion to Curly's life. He ends up being her death. And so she does get out of her situation, but not quite in the way she was probably hoping. There are other parallels. There's another worker on the farm. His name is Candy, and he has a very old dog, and nobody wants this dog around. And this brings up the topic of mercy killing. And it's better to put this dog out of its misery. And Candy is like, when I'm old, nobody's going to put me out of my misery, and I just wish they would. But somebody else does put the dog down. They shoot him, and Candy's sad. And he goes on to say, like, I should have killed my dog myself. I should have done it. I shouldn't have let somebody else kill my dog. Parallel that to the end of the story where Lenny has committed this crime. He has killed Curly's wife, and he takes off. He runs. And George, he knows where he's going, and he's going to find him before anybody else does. And he finds him, and George shoots Lenny. He kills him. It brings back up that topic, that mercy killing. Like, should George have killed Lenny? Lenny would have ended up in a hospital probably. He would have ended up in a mental institution. If Curly had caught him, he would have made him suffer. So neither of those were a good option. Was it the best thing for George to shoot Lenny? So it was merciful, it's quick, there's no pain. He didn't see it coming. It brings back, like, that regret. Like, George knew Candy regretted not putting his own dog down, and it's kind of similar. I mean, a person is different than a dog, obviously, but he didn't want anyone else to hurt Lenny. If someone was going to do it, it was going to be him, because he would do it the best way. Like, it's just lots of parallels. See, I told you I was going to spoil the ending, and I'm sorry if you stuck around and you didn't want to know that, but I warned you enough times, so it's your fault. But this book does bring up, like, the point, like, is it okay? Like, what's the morality of mercy killing? Like, it's something important to talk about. Is it right? Is it wrong? What should you do? Now I want to talk about foreshadowing. So, even from the very, very beginning, we get this foreshadowing that something bad is going to happen. Before George and Lenny even get to the farm, they stop at this little area, little camp, I don't know what to call it, this little bit along the river, and George is anticipating that something will go wrong again. And he tells Lenny, if something goes wrong, if you get in trouble, you come here. We'll meet here. You meet me here. So we already know, like, George is anticipating something bad will happen, so we should anticipate something bad will happen. This is a tragedy. Again, foreshadowing with Candy's dog with somebody killing his dog and him not wanting to have that happen. Like, George doesn't want Lenny to die, but it's going to happen no matter what. There's foreshadowing just in the fact that they got ran out of the last place because of a woman. And there's a woman at this farm. There's foreshadowing lots of times with how she'll die because Lenny breaks the neck of mice. He breaks the neck of a puppy because he's just too rough and he doesn't know how rough he's being. He doesn't know how strong he is. So there's just so much foreshadowing. This leads me to the question, was George killing Lenny, was that premeditated? He did take somebody else's gun before he went to find Lenny. So some people think that that means it was premeditated, that he knew once he took that gun he was going to kill Lenny. And others think, no, that it wasn't premeditated. He took the gun to protect him and Lenny, and then he changed his mind. And you know what? I kind of think it's a little bit of both. Like, I think he took the gun so that he was armed because he knew that Curly and the other workers were armed and they were looking for Lenny. And I think it's kind of both. Like, I think he didn't want to kill his friend. I think he gets there and he realizes that they're coming and he's got to do it, because if he doesn't do it, somebody else will, and he's not going to let somebody else do it. And like, that weight, I can't imagine that weight that would put on George, this companion that he's cared about, that has been with him for so long, that he has now killed. That I don't know how he would go on after that. And other workers tell him, like, you had to do it. You had to do it. But like, how do you not beat yourself up about it? Even if you had to do it. I just don't know. Anyway, I'm sorry that I spoiled the ending for you, but I had to get all those thoughts out because they're just on my mind. And I think there's so many layers to this very tiny book, and I wanted to talk about them. So if you haven't read this, I really think you should. It's a great story. It's a very short novella, and I think you'll enjoy it. It's sad. It is sad. A lot of people I know, they say they cried when they read it. I did not cry because I had it spoiled for me. So if I spoiled it for you, that's your fault though. But I warned you. Anyways, drop down in the comments and let me know your thoughts. I hope you have a lovely week, and I'll talk to you next Monday. Hit that like button and subscribe. Thanks for talking books with me.